That's literally just a group.
It was
you know what a task force is. That's not getting rid of anything.
I was here in 2016. I know what happened. And after that, we did a whole of government approach.
Yes.
We put experts in at CISA. We put experts in at the FBI, and we put experts in at the Department of Defense. Together, whole of government approach, they went state by state by state to make sure that our electoral infrastructure was sound. However, your department and this administration has aggressively fired all the people that were put in charge of this.
Senator Kirsten Gillibrand just arrived at the Senate committee armed with a dossier of irrefutable facts. What we are witnessing is a thorough grilling concerning several foundational national security and community safety initiatives that are currently facing drastic overhauls or severe cuts. Meanwhile, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche appears to be fumbling for a clear justification. To grasp the tension in this room, we have to look back. Following the 9/11 attacks in New York, and particularly in the wake of the 2016 election meddling, the American security apparatus adopted the whole-of-government framework. Essentially, agencies like the CIA, NSA, DoD, FBI, DOJ, alongside local entities like the NYPD, ceased operating in silos. Instead, they were mandated to seamlessly integrate and share intelligence. For Senator Gillibrand, who represents a primary target like New York, this unified strategy is critical for survival. But through her rigorous congressional oversight, she exposes that the DOJ is walking away from this framework, terminating key personnel and gutting highly effective programs. Over the next 20 minutes, we are going to unpack every layer of this heated exchange. You will witness a legislator pinning down the DOJ's top executive using hard data, illustrating exactly how withholding information puts the public in jeopardy.
So first of all, do you think that China, Iran, Russia want to do us harm and would undermine our elections?
Yes.
Why did you delete the whole department then that is supposed to protect against the undermining of our elections?
We spend a ton of time, a ton of money, a ton of man hours, a ton of resources on that very issue.
Yeah, but you canceled the FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force.
That's a task force.
Here we have the primary battleground of this hearing, election integrity. Gillibrand doesn't mince words, directly calling out adversaries like China, Iran, and Russia. Her logic is straightforward. If you acknowledge these dangers exist, why would you abolish the very unit created to stop them? Acting Ad Blanche attempts to minimize the significance of the previous framework, referring to the FBI unit as literally just a group. His main defense is that the former task force was ineffective because it was heavily centralized in Washington, D.C., and lacked grassroots integration. The DOJ's new workaround: dissolve the existing task force and launch Homeland Security Task Forces (HSTF) across every single state.
Where that failed, there were no state and local involved. It was all just a bunch of federal people, mostly out of Washington, D.C., okay? And the FBI agents were all Washington, D.C. The way they were agents, not around the country where we needed them. So the way that we're addressing it by closing down that task force is by having HSTF set up in every single, including in New York City.
On the surface, shifting power to local branches sounds like a logical move. However, Gillibrand exposes a glaring oversight in this rationale: the workforce. Shifting focus locally shouldn't require the mass firing of 300 to 400 veteran specialists who have served seamlessly across both Democratic and Republican administrations. By highlighting the widespread termination of experts from CISA, the DoD, and the FBI, she challenges the overall stability of our security infrastructure. Wiping the slate clean in a highly technical arena like cybersecurity is a guaranteed path to failure. Pressed on this issue, Blanche eventually concedes that not everyone was let go, but the sheer doubt surrounding the effectiveness of this new model prompts the senator to demand a formal, comprehensive report.
Second issue, gun trafficking. We have been working so hard as a federal government to stop the flow of illicit guns into our communities, where someone can sell guns out of the backs of their trucks from some criminal gun dealer who's trying to get these guns into the hands of criminals. And we are supposed to get data every year so we can show that our gun trafficking laws are working. These new enhanced laws where police officers can now go cross state lines to do their investigation. Why are you not giving me the data about gun trafficking? I need to know if it's working. I need to know if these cases are being prosecuted, and I can't even get data out of your department.
Well, the cases are being prosecuted. We did.
Will you give me the data so I can assess it?
I don't know what data you're talking about.
The number of number of weapons that have been seized, the number of cases that are being prosecuted. We keep track of how many weapons have been seized that are trafficked, and I'm waiting from your department over a year to get that data.
Shifting focus to the second major concern, firearms trafficking statistics. Nationwide, the movement of illegal weapons across state borders remains a massive hurdle for law enforcement agencies. Newly passed legislation was designed to give police broader cross-jurisdictional authority. But how can Congress verify if these new measures are working? They require hard numbers. They need to see the volume of seized weapons and the actual tally of prosecuted cases. This exact exchange perfectly illustrates the necessity of congressional oversight. When a massive executive body like the DOJ forces Congress to wait over 12 months for fundamental statistical reports, it represents an egregious stalling tactic. It generates a transparency void. Blanche's vague assurance that cases are being prosecuted falls incredibly short for a senator demanding concrete metrics to evaluate national policy.
Next point, community violence intervention grants. You are slashing these community violence intervention grants. They work. We know they work. One of them was to New York for $4.2 million, slashed. It prevents youth violence. These are programs that are working. Did you analyze whether this program was working before you slashed the funding?
Yes, there's still a ton of funding for those programs.
Not
They do work.
the ones in
They
New York.
do.
You just deleted them. Delete, delete, delete. It's shocking.
It wasn't delete. That
Okay,
is
well, 4.2
absolutely not true.
was deleted for the Local Initiative Support Corporation that funds.
It's not a deletion. It's just that we're not seeking funding for it through this exact
No,
process.
I'm
for that
seeking
exact.
funding for it. I've asked for the money, and we've gotten grants for this, and you've just suspended this grant program.
The clash hits a boiling point as the dialogue pivots to neighborhood-level financial support. Gillibrand directly cites a $4.2 million allocation intended for the Local Initiative Support Corporation in New York, specifically designed to curb youth violence. Notice her strategic word choice. Gillibrand repeatedly hammers the word delete to highlight the extreme severity of these financial cuts. In contrast, Acting AG Blanche attempts to spin the narrative. He vehemently denies the delete characterization, claiming the capital still exists, just that the DOJ is no longer channeling it through this exact traditional pipeline. However, from a local perspective, abruptly freezing a highly successful program or entirely shifting its financial source triggers catastrophic disruptions. Gillibrand doesn't stop there. She outlines a casualty list of other vital funds, the COPS program essential for bridging the gap between police and citizens and crucial de-escalation training grants. These are mandatory skills that today's law enforcement officers rely on to safely diffuse volatile scenarios.
And then drugs. We have an anti-heroin and anti-methamphetamine task force, and we need to be funded, and it's not being funded. So
It is being funded, absolutely. There's a different amount of funding, but it is being funded.
No, you've eliminated funding for both the anti-heroin, anti-methamphetamine task force. I'm sorry. Which is the task force that stops the trafficking of heroin, fentanyl, and the very long word I can't pronounce.
I mean, Senator, there's nothing more important to President Trump and to this Department of Justice than combating the illegal flow of narcotics. So to the extent that there is a particular funding revenue stream that is not being funded the same way, I commit to you that it is of the highest priority to combat drug trafficking.
Last is the Public Safety Officer Benefit Program. You say, we just had Police Week, you say you stand with law enforcement. When you do not support this program and when these funds are not getting back to the loved ones who have lost their police officer loved one, it is not right. I need you to focus on this. I need you to get this right.
That was a masterclass in 5 minutes of relentless, highly efficient questioning. When looking at the narcotics debate, a recurring pattern emerges. Blanche vehemently declares that fighting the drug crisis is a top priority, yet he resorts to bureaucratic jargon like a particular funding revenue stream that is not being funded the same way to sidestep a direct answer regarding the dismantled heroin and meth task force. Gillibrand's closing argument powerfully highlights the hypocrisy between political rhetoric and actual policy. The government eagerly celebrates Police Week and verbally champions law enforcement. Yet, how hollow is that celebration if the Public Safety Officer Benefit Program is left to decay, actively blocking vital financial aid from the families of officers who gave their lives protecting the public? Ultimately, this hearing transcends a simple budget dispute. It serves as a stark lesson in governmental transparency and strict accountability. Lawmakers have an absolute obligation to press hard, demand factual statistics, and reject political double talk when the very safety of our communities and the integrity of our constitutional framework are on the line. When violence prevention grants are frozen, firearms statistics are suppressed, and veteran election security personnel are ousted, it forces us to deeply question this system's true ability to safeguard the American people. What is your take on this intense grilling? Does the DOJ's excuse of restructuring hold water, or is it merely a smokescreen for gutting crucial public safety programs? Share your perspective in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe so we can continue tracking the most critical legal shifts. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next breakdown.